Imagine, my dear friend, a mirror reflecting not just light, but destiny itself. A nation born amidst opulent whispers. An emperor's pride, shattered on a rain-soaked field, yielded more than just a battle. It yielded an age, Sedan, a name whispered with reverence and dread, a crucible where the very heart of Europe was forever remade, the simple fabric, a signal of surrender. Yet, in that moment, it heralded the dawn of an entirely new world. Can one single moment, one brutal day of reckoning, truly redraw the maps of an entire continent? Borders, once sacred, were merely lines etched in sand, awaiting the next tidal wave of change. For from this fire, a new colossal power would be hammered into being, an empire forged in blood. It wasn't just land, it was a soul finding its voice, a collective spirit yearning for one shared banner. The stakes, my friend, were beyond mere victory or defeat. They were existential, the very soul of nations. Time itself seemed to hold its breath, poised on the precipice of an unraveling, an uncertain tomorrow. Two giants stood at the precipice, their wills colliding like thunderclouds. A battle of minds, then men. One, a master strategist, weaving his nation's destiny. The other, an emperor grasping at fading glory, his grip loosening. Through the cannon's roar, a fragmented people heard a singular call, a longing for unity, long dormant, awakened. From countless smaller banners, a single, mighty standard would now rise, proclaiming a shared identity. But for this birth, another had to die. A dynasty, steeped in history, would crumble into dust, centuries of power, prestige, and influence, extinguished in the smoke of one fateful, tragic day. The curtain rises now, my friend, on a saga vast and profound, a story etched in sacrifice. Every grain of earth, every forgotten whisper, holds a fragment of what was destined to unfold. Small acts, immense consequences. Destiny, it seems, often chooses the most brutal canvases to express itself. This isn't just a tale of generals and strategies. It's the heartbeat of humanity, caught in conflict. These faces, my friend, carried the weight of nations. Their choices shaped the world we know. So let us journey back, gently, into that crucible, to feel the echoes of history's turning point. The world, my friend, was a restless sea then, currents of change stirring beneath old empires. New ideas blossomed in the West, carried by steam and iron, challenging the ancient ways of life. An air of uncertainty hung heavy, a quiet tension humming just beneath the surface of daily life. Old alliances whispered secrets, while ambitions, like growing shadows, stretched across the continent. Between the great powers, a central heartland remained, a complicated tapestry woven from many threads. This was not a single nation, but a patchwork of German states, each sovereign, each proud. From grand kingdoms to tiny duchies, they were a family, yet without a shared hearth, a single roof. Imagine trying to gather water from a dozen tiny streams, hoping to fill one mighty river. They shared a language, yes, and many traditions, but their loyalties often lay closer to home. Their very fragmentation left them vulnerable, like small boats tossed upon an unpredictable sea. Yet, deep within the hearts of many, a quiet yearning for something more began to stir. A sense of belonging, a longing for a shared destiny, whispered through the valleys and towns. They dreamt of a powerful Germany, one voice, standing strong in a world full of giants. This wasn't a loud cry, but a subtle hum, a collective consciousness slowly taking root. The seed of unity, though dormant, promised a mighty forest, if only it found fertile ground. Amidst these fragmented dreams, one state, Prussia, began to flex its muscles, growing ever stronger. They had a disciplined spirit, a strong sense of order, and a quiet, formidable ambition. Prussia, my friend, was not merely a state. It was an idea, a force quietly gathering momentum. They saw themselves as the rightful heart of this longing, the forge where unity could be hammered. Their ambition wasn't simply conquest. It was to sculpt a new future for all German peoples. And then, a man, a master sculptor of nations, stepped onto the European stage, Otto von Bismarck. He possessed a mind like a finely tuned clockwork, always anticipating, always calculating the next move. Bismarck saw the fragmented continent not as chaos, but as clay, waiting for his firm hand. He was a pragmatist, a manipulator of the grandest scale, unafraid to bend circumstance to his will. His vision for a united Germany was clear, forged not by sentiment, but by blood and iron. Yet, Bismarck knew even the cleverest diplomacy needed strength. This is where Moltke entered the story. Moltke was the quiet genius, the architect of victory, thinking battles years before they were fought. He transformed the Prussian army into an unstoppable machine, precise, adaptable, utterly devastating in its purpose. Together, these two men, the diplomat and the general, were about to reshape a continent. The stage was set, my friend. The seeds of ambition, carefully sown, were ready to bloom. Ah, France. For generations, she stood as a radiant jewel, her spirit a guiding light for Europe. Under Napoleon III, the Second Empire sought to rekindle that former glory, an echo of a powerful past. Yet, beneath the gilded surface, a tremor of doubt began to stir within the nation's very soul. The world was changing, dear friend, and France, once so dominant, felt the ground shifting underfoot. A sense of unease, a quiet worry, crept into the hearts of those who truly understood the times. For beyond her borders, a new star was rising, a power quietly, patiently, gathering its strength. France, though still proud, was perhaps resting on laurels, while others were forging sharper, newer tools. Daily life continued. Yes, but the whispers of threats from the east grew louder, harder to ignore. Time, ever so unforgiving, was ticking towards an unknown future, challenging the established order profoundly. There was a yearning for the past, a silent wish that things might simply remain as they always had been. Meanwhile, across the Rhine, in Prussia, a different spirit was at work, stern and unyielding. Led by the formidable Bismarck, Prussia was weaving a tapestry of power, thread by painstaking thread. Their industry boomed, their army grew lean and formidable, a disciplined machine awakening to purpose. The dream of a united Germany, once a distant murmur, was now taking tangible, formidable shape. This burgeoning strength, this new resolve, began to cast long shadows across the European continent. For France, this wasn't just another neighbor growing strong, it was a direct challenge, a perceived threat. The very idea of a unified Germany struck at the heart of France's long-held continental supremacy. Nationalism, a potent brew, simmered fiercely on both sides, fueling pride and suspicion in equal measure. The delicate balance of power, once a carefully maintained equilibrium, now teetered precariously, ready to fall. A storm was brewing, my friend, and its ominous rumbles could be heard across every capital. France, desperate to cling to her fading glory, felt compelled to assert her historical dominance. There was a fierce resolve to defend what she believed was rightfully hers, her place in the world. The Rhine, that ancient river, became more than a boundary. It was a symbol, a line in the sand. Fervent nationalism, a powerful current, swept through the populace, hardening hearts and minds. Modernization was a double-edged sword, bringing both prosperity and the means for swifter, larger conflicts. The tools of war, growing ever more deadly, lay ready, polished, and waiting for their grim purpose. Two great powers, driven by pride and fear, found themselves on a collision course. Unavoidable, it seemed. The air grew thick with unspoken tension, a hush before the storm, a moment of profound quiet. The precarious balance had finally tipped, and the inevitability of conflict loomed large over all. Europe held its breath, knowing deeply that the fragile peace was about to shatter, irrevocably. The whispers of ambition, like distant thunder, often precede the great storms. Europe lay poised. Far to the south, a throne sat vacant, its silence beckoning power, a fateful twist of destiny. For Spain, a new monarch was sought. Unseen threads began to pull, weaving a complex, dangerous tapestry. Prince Leopold, of the Hohenzollern line, emerged, a quiet name, soon to echo across the continent. A cousin to Prussia's king, his claim, though distant, stirred old fears, awakened forgotten rivalries. In elegant Paris, the news arrived, a chill wind. France saw shadows of encirclement gathering quickly. To have a Hohenzollern on two thrones, this, France declared, was an intolerable direct affront. France felt its very prestige, its national honor, gravely threatened. A deep, simmering resentment grew. Diplomatic cables flew like angry birds. Paris demanded explanations, seeking immediate, firm reassurances swiftly. King Wilhelm, at his tranquil Ems retreat, heard the clamor. A peaceful summer shattered suddenly. Under immense pressure, Leopold thoughtfully withdrew. The immediate crisis seemed to thoughtfully subside. A collective sigh, perhaps. But France wasn't finished. More demands were yet to arrive. France, not content with peace, pushed for an absolute, binding guarantee from Prussia's king. Ambassador Benedetti, bearing his country's stern message, journeyed to meet King Wilhelm again. The quiet gardens of Ems became a stage for fate. Two men, and the weight of nations. Benedetti approached Wilhelm, demanding a solemn promise. No Hohenzollern candidacy, ever again. Never again, France insisted. A sweeping, impossible demand, binding future generations firmly. Wilhelm, ever courteous, refused. He would not, could not, sign away such future possibilities. The king's refusal, though gentle, was absolute. Benedetti, frustrated, knew his mission had failed. News of the Ems encounter reached Berlin. A simple telegram, seemingly innocuous, lay waiting. Bismarck read the king's words. His astute mind, ever keen, sensed an opportunity for Prussia. This was his moment. A master tactician, he saw the potential for a bold, dangerous move. With careful strokes of his pen, Bismarck began to sculpt the truth, to reshape destiny. He condensed Wilhelm's polite refusal, transforming it into a seemingly abrupt, harsh dismissal. What was once courteous became curt, a deliberate slight designed to inflame French national pride. The altered dispatch, a carefully crafted provocation, was released to the waiting European press. Across Europe, newspapers screamed. The carefully planted seed of insult began to blossom into fury. France, perceiving a grave public humiliation, erupted. The drums of war began their rhythmic beat. Even disparate German states, once divided, felt a unifying surge of patriotic outrage now. In Paris, national pride, a potent and dangerous brew, swept away all caution. Napoleon III, weak and misjudging the hour, succumbed to overwhelming public pressure quickly. On July 19, 1870, France tragically declared war. A colossal miscalculation, indeed. The spark ignited, not just a battle, but a war that would redefine a continent entirely. The summer of 1870 dawned, quiet yet heavy with a breath held, a world on the brink. Beneath the surface, two nations stirred, their preparations so starkly different, a quiet promise of destiny. Across the Rhine, a meticulous machine hummed. Quiet discipline stood ready, a testament to years of foresight. Behind this readiness stood Moltke, quiet architect of war, his mind a symphony of intricate, deadly movements. Then came the call. Like a sudden, powerful tide, Germany's armies began to stir with purpose. Railways, arteries of this new warfare, hummed with life, a testament to diligent planning, moving thousands. Food, ammunition, bandages, every detail considered. Logistical precision, an unseen force, fueled their momentum forward. Each corps moved with a common pulse, a strategic advantage born of unified vision, overwhelming in its scale. Across the border, a different rhythm. French mobilization, often chaotic, began its slow, painful struggle. Confusion reigned. Orders were unclear, units misplaced, a frustrating scramble for answers amidst mounting disarray. Provisions, so vital, were desperately lacking. Hunger and want began to gnaw, slowly eroding their spirit. Command was fragmented, voices competing, decisions delayed. A house divided, struggling for its unified path. At its heart, the emperor's indecision cast a long shadow, a heavy burden for his nation at war. Doubts, like a quiet fever, spread through the ranks. The weight of unpreparedness pressed heavily, a chilling omen. With chilling precision, German legions crossed the frontier, an unstoppable tide sweeping towards their first objectives. First clashes erupted. German artillery, well-drilled, roared with power, a prelude to their tactical advantage. French courage, undeniable, often met insurmountable walls. Coordinated fire, superior numbers, relentless pressure. The German advance was relentless, a swift current pushing ever onward, leaving no room for French regrouping. Forced into retreat, The French army pulled back hoping for time, but relentless pressure never ceased. Places like Worth became grim markers, where French bravery met a devastating, well-executed German assault. The cost was heavy. Each defeat chipped away at morale, leaving a bitter taste of unfulfilled promise. Moltke's grand design began to unfold, a strategic encirclement, slowly tightening its inexorable, deadly grip. The French, pushed into desperate positions, found their backs against an ever-shrinking, unforgiving wall. Each retreating step, each lost battle, drew them inexorably closer to one fated town, Sedan. The German war machine, a marvel of organization, moved with silent, terrifying purpose. Knowing its objective, hope dwindled with each passing day. The very air thickened with the weight of impending, inevitable doom. Moltke, far from the front, watched his masterpiece unfold, confidence born of years of patient planning. French generals wrestled with impossible choices, trapped between duty and harsh reality, a losing fight. Beyond the armies, the land itself bore witness to grim advance, scars forming on the quiet countryside. A fleeting quiet descended, a fragile pause before the final act where fates would soon be decided. On the heights, German guns were positioned, silently awaiting the signal. A metal symphony of destruction, a narrow valley, surrounded by hills, evoking a feeling of being hemmed, nowhere left to go. All paths, all struggles, all strategic genius now converged upon that one fated place, Sedan. The land itself, sometimes, whispers tales of destiny. Here, the valley began to close, silently, subtly, around them. It was a strategic dance, precise and merciless, orchestrating an embrace from which there would be no escape. Marshal MacMahon, a man of duty, held the army's fate. Emperor Napoleon III, haunted by shadows, stood by. The French army of Chalons, tired but resilient, settled into the valley's embrace, unsuspecting of its true nature. Sedan, a fortress designed for defense, now became the very crucible where their collective destiny would be forged. The 1st of September 1870. The morning began wrapped in a hush, a thick veil of fog clinging tightly to the earth. It felt like the world was holding its breath, a quiet before the storm that would change everything, forever. Then, slowly, almost reluctantly, the great white curtain began to draw back, revealing the stage for tragedy. A gasp, a cold dread, as the rising mist unveiled an impossible, terrifying sight on every horizon. German forces, like silent specters, now occupied every surrounding height. The trap was sprung, and so, the first thunderclap broke the morning's quiet. The valley trembled under its ominous power. Soon, a symphony of destruction erupted from all sides, a chorus of iron and fire, relentless and unforgiving. They sought solace, any small comfort, but found none. The world had become a maelstrom around them. From every vantage point, a deadly rain descended, pounding their positions without mercy, without end. The valley, once serene, was transformed into a literal cauldron of fire, a hellish, inescapable inferno. Even the animals sensed the terror, their instincts screaming escape. But where could they possibly run? No place offered sanctuary. The barrage was indiscriminate, a blanket of destruction smothering all hope. Orders were shouted, but unheard. Courage flickered, then struggled against the overwhelming, deafening assault. It was not just war. It was an unrelenting, concentrated fury, designed to crush spirit and flesh alike. The very air became thick with dust and the stench of gunpowder, a choking blanket of utter despair. For many, the noise itself was a weapon, tearing at their very souls, stealing away all sense of reason. With each explosion, a piece of hope seemed to vanish, replaced by an awful, growing sense of inescapable doom. Even the emperor, who once held such power, now gazed upon the unfolding horror, utterly powerless. Their fate seemed sealed, written in fire and smoke. The feeling of being truly trapped settled deep within them. The once proud calls of battle were now mere whispers against a storm, lost in the overwhelming symphony of destruction. In moments like these, one reaches for anything. A prayer, a memory, a fleeting hope against the inevitable. The realization dawned, stark and cold. They were not merely under attack, they were being systematically annihilated. Yet, even in this crushing despair, human spirit flickered. There were attempts, brave and utterly desperate, to break free. With a primal roar, men pushed forward, defying the iron rain, hoping to pierce the tightening noose against all odds. Each charge, each desperate push was a testament to courage, a refusal to simply surrender to the inevitable. But the German ring held firm, an unbreakable wall of steel and fire, making every heroic effort agonizingly futile. The cost was immense. Lives poured out like water, yet the cruel, tightening embrace of the valley remained. As dusk fell, a profound silence began to settle, heavy with loss, upon the doomed, forgotten heroes of Sedan. The sun, a weary eye, gazed upon Sedan, a day destined to etch itself into memory. Here, brave men met their fate, their courage clashing like steel in the valley's grim embrace. Every face told a story of sacrifice, each heart a testament to the fight's unforgiving truth. Through smoke and despair, horses charged, a valiant, yet heartbreaking, dance against an iron tide. Such bravery, such futility, the field became a silent witness to countless forgotten final breaths. Bazailes burned, a village transformed into a crucible, where desperate souls fought for every agonizing inch. No grand gestures here, only raw survival, each struggle a testament to mankind's brutal, primal will. Against overwhelming odds, they held, their sacrifice a silent echo across the ravaged, blood-soaked ground. The enemy advanced, a relentless tide, crushing all hope beneath its cold, unyielding, inevitable weight. Upon the emperor's face, the battle's cruel truth unfolded, a silent, agonizing weight settling deep. He rode among his men, a shepherd lost, their fading hope mirrored in his own weary gaze. His once proud uniform now bore the dust of despair, a silent testament to a world crumbling. Each distant explosion echoed his own breaking heart, a dreadful symphony of impending, utter defeat. The grim truth settled, an inescapable shadow, extinguishing the last flicker of desperate, futile hope. Again, he rode, perhaps searching for solace in oblivion, a final desperate plea for dignity. Men fell around him, silent sacrifices, their weary eyes holding no comfort, only the void. The trap was sprung, a merciless ring of iron, sealing their fate under a smoke-filled, indifferent sky. Strongholds crumbled like sand, their defenses a testament to a valiant effort, ultimately in vain. The bombardment never ceased, a drumbeat of doom, hammering hope into the blood-soaked, barren earth. Smoke veiled the sun, a mournful shroud covering the valley's agony, a testament to desolation. The symphony of war played on, a dreadful melody of despair, each note a soul's lament. His posture spoke volumes of sorrow, the heavy burden of empire now a crushing, insurmountable weight. No escape, only the stark reality, a horizon devoid of hope, an unforgiving, bitter truth. The iron ring held fast, an unbreakable cage, trapping a once proud army in its final deadly embrace. In the fortress's shadow, a terrible decision loomed, heavy with the weight of countless, imminent lives. His voice, thick with sorrow, articulated the unspeakable, the bitter taste of a world undone. A shared despair hung in the air, a silent agreement that all hope had finally, tragically, departed. The order was given, a solemn decree, sealing the fate of an army and an empire. A lone rider ventured forth, bearing the crushing weight of surrender, a somber envoy of defeat. A stark white flag, a symbol of cessation, now prepared to rise over the besieged, weary city. Against the grim sky, the white flag ascended, a profound silence falling upon the exhausted, broken field. The guns fell silent, a stillness descending, heavy with the weight of loss, a future forever changed. The emperor's sword, a heavy symbol, fell, marking the end of an era, a mournful, lasting legacy. As dawn broke, a heavy silence descended, a stillness that spoke volumes of the night's brutal, unforgiving toll. The true scale of the disaster, the overwhelming defeat, slowly began to unfurl across the devastated landscape. Victors surveyed the scene, not with gleeful cheers, but with a quiet understanding of history's turning tide. For those who had fought, the world had crumbled. Hope seemed a distant, cruel whisper on the chill morning air. Among the defeated, one man carried the heaviest burden. Emperor Napoleon III rode towards his ultimate, bitter fate. Every turn of the wheel was a step closer to relinquishing an empire, a humbling moment for a once proud sovereign. History, in its strange way, often chooses the quietest places for its loudest pronouncements. A small cottage awaited, the air thrummed with unspoken weight. Moments before great change are often hushed, filled with profound anticipation. Wilhelm, the steady hand, and Bismarck, the sharp mind, stood ready. Destiny had brought these powerful men together. Then he appeared, not the emperor, but a weary man, stripped of his grandeur, facing the inevitable. In a moment pregnant with destiny, the Second French Empire quietly yielded its authority. Its glorious reign ended. It was not just a sword, nor mere words, but the very soul of a nation being passed into new hands. The immense historical weight of this meeting hung in the air, a silent, powerful testament to shifting power. A shattered emperor departed, while a king, now more powerful than ever, watched, his empire taking shape. Across the land, the terrible tidings began their relentless journey, closing in on a city unaware. Like an ominous heartbeat, the telegraph wires whispered secrets that would soon shatter the peace of a capital. Paris, in its elegant ignorance, awoke to whispers. Soon, those whispers would become deafening, dreadful screams. The unbelievable news hit like a thunderbolt, igniting a fury that had long smoldered beneath the surface. The city erupted. Rage, humiliation, and a thirst for justice swelled, pushing the old order to its breaking point. With its emperor captured, its army gone, the Second Empire simply dissolved, like mist in the morning sun. From the ashes, a new spirit rose, the Third Republic, born of chaos, yet brimming with fierce, defiant hope. Yet, even with an empire fallen, the cannons would not be silenced. The war, cruelly, was not yet truly done. Sedan was decisive, yes, but for Paris, the true ordeal, a harrowing siege, had only just begun. The cold wind whispered tales of victory as their carriages approached, drawing ever closer to Versailles, a silent journey. This place, a symbol of old France, would soon bear witness to Germany's profound new beginning. History waits. Inside those hallowed halls, where kings once walked, a different kind of sovereignty was about to find its voice. One couldn't help but feel the weight of history, as these new faces occupied such ancient, storied spaces. Every detail, meticulously planned, was part of a ceremony meant to echo through time, a powerful statement. Bismarck, the architect, watched his grand design unfold. A lifetime's ambition now stood on history's very doorstep. For Wilhelm, the crown was a heavy burden, a king becoming Kaiser, yet his duty remained steadfast, unwavering. The Hall of Mirrors, reflecting 1,000 untold stories, prepared to witness its most audacious, most pivotal chapter. Then, slowly, the room filled, not with dancers, but with men who had carved a new nation. A hushed reverence settled upon the assembly. A tangible sense of destiny hung heavy in the opulent air. January 18th, 1871, a date forever etched, when the currents of history took a decisive, irreversible turn. He stood, a monarch from another time, about to embrace a future he himself had helped to birth. The crown, a symbol of unity and power, settled upon his brow, not just for him, and in that moment, Germany, a collection of hopes and dreams, finally became a single, powerful reality. Bismarck, watching from the periphery, saw his life's work come to fruition, a quiet, knowing triumph. Moltke, the soldier, knew the cost, but also saw the grand reward of strategic brilliance and unwavering resolve. Europe watched, startled, as a new power emerged, its borders forever changed by this powerful, unified Germany. Sedan, the catalyst, the forge where this new nation was tempered in fire, a memory still raw. It was Sedan that sealed their fate, binding together fragmented souls into one resolute, unbreakable spirit. The old order shuddered. A balance of power, once so familiar, was now irrevocably shifted, changed forever. Germany, now a formidable force, stood tall, casting a long shadow across the European landscape, truly dominant. Yet, even in triumph, shadows lengthened, for every beginning carries within it the seed of what is to come. The German Empire was born that day, a profound moment that echoes through history, even to our own time. Sedan, a name etched deeply into history's tapestry, echoes with consequences still felt today, profound and far-reaching. Its enduring significance wasn't just in the fallen, but in the unseen forces it unleashed, shaping a continent. Yet, beneath the victory bells, a deep shadow of resentment fell over France, a wound unhealing. The loss of Alsace-Lorraine was a bitter pill, a constant reminder, fueling a smoldering anger. This revanchism, a yearning for revenge, for return, began to quietly fester in the French spirit. A seed of future European conflicts was planted, nurtured by humiliation, awaiting its terrible bloom. Indeed, the road to the Great War, that immense global tragedy, had its subtle beginnings here. Sedan was, you see, far more than just a single clash of arms, a mere military victory. It was a crucible, a fiery furnace where disparate elements were brought together under immense heat. Before, a fragmented collection of states, each with its own rhythm and its own quiet dreams. But from this crucible emerged something new. A powerful, unified German nation, formidable and undeniable, forever changing the course of European history. Its ripple effects spread across the entire continent. And indeed, the world felt its seismic shift too, a new power now standing on the global stage. What are your reflections on this profound legacy? Share your thoughts below, friends, and join our journey.